The tragic story of Sylvia Likens. Background in early life. Sylvia Likens was born on January 3, 1949, in Lebanon, Indiana, to Lester and Elizabeth Likens. She was the second of 5 children in a working-class family. The family often faced financial instability, which led Sylvia's parents to take seasonal jobs at traveling carnivals. In 1965, due to their work commitments, they decided to send Sylvia and her younger sister, Jenny, to live with Gertrude Baniszewski in Indianapolis. Gertrude was a mother of 7 and received welfare assistance, making her seem like a reasonable choice for the girls to stay with while their parents worked. Moving in with Gertrude. The arrangement was supposed to be temporary and would involve a payment of $20 per week to Gertrude for taking care of the girls. However, when the payments were delayed, Gertrude's attitude changed dramatically. Feeling abandoned and frustrated, she began to take her anger out on Sylvia, who quickly became a target for her resentment. Gertrude's children and their friends soon joined in the abuse, encouraged by their mother. Escalation of abuse. The abuse started with verbal taunts and ridicule but quickly escalated into physical violence. Gertrude would frequently berate Sylvia, calling her names and making her feel worthless. The situation worsened as Sylvia was subjected to relentless beatings, often being slapped or kicked for minor infractions. Sylvia's sister, Jenny, tried to intervene but was often threatened by Gertrude, who instilled fear in her children and the neighborhood kids. As the abuse continued, Gertrude became more sadistic. Sylvia was locked in the basement for long periods, deprived of food and water. Gertrude and her children would often force Sylvia to eat scraps, and on one occasion, they even forced her to consume her own feces. This abuse became a regular occurrence, and Sylvia's physical and emotional state deteriorated rapidly. Psychological torture. Gertrude's psychological abuse was just as horrifying as the physical torture. She manipulated her children and neighborhood kids into participating in the torment. They would hold Sylvia down, take turns hitting her, and even brand her with hot objects. One of the cruelest acts involved forcing a neighborhood boy to carve the words "I'm a whore" on Sylvia's stomach with a hot needle. Sylvia's pleas for help went unheard, as the children laughed at her suffering. Isolation and neglect. During this time, Sylvia's health declined drastically. She was often seen with visible injuries, bruises, cuts, and burns covering her body. However, Gertrude would not allow anyone to intervene. Even when neighbors suspected something was wrong, Gertrude's manipulation kept them at bay. She would tell them that Sylvia was just crazy and needed to be disciplined. As Sylvia's condition worsened, her ability to care for herself diminished. She was too weak and traumatized to ask for help, living in constant fear of Gertrude's wrath. The isolation and neglect took a significant toll on her mental and physical health. The final days. By October 1965, Sylvia was barely able to move and had lost a significant amount of weight. On October 26, she was found unresponsive in the Baniszewski home. Gertrude had given her a beating that proved fatal. Sylvia had died from a combination of malnutrition, dehydration, and multiple injuries, including severe internal bleeding. When the police arrived, they initially thought Sylvia had died and returned in a weakened state. However, Gertrude's story began to unravel as the officers noticed the numerous injuries and the stench of neglect. The truth was revealed as neighbors and children began to testify about the prolonged abuse. The investigation and trial. The investigation quickly focused on Gertrude and her children, who were arrested for their involvement in Sylvia's death. The trial began in 1966 and was widely publicized, drawing national attention. Gertrude's defense team attempted to portray her as mentally unstable and a victim of her circumstances, arguing that she had not intended to kill Sylvia. However, the evidence presented revealed a chilling pattern of deliberate cruelty. During the trial, witnesses recounted the horrific treatment Sylvia endured, and Jenny's testimony was particularly impactful. She described the horrific scenes in the Baniszewski home, detailing the beatings and torture her sister had experienced. The jury was horrified by the brutality of the crime, and on May 24, 1966, Gertrude Baniszewski was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Several of Gertrude's children were also charged, and some were given lighter sentences, while others received probation. The trial highlighted not only the heinous nature of the crime but also the systemic failures that allowed such abuse to continue unchecked.
Aftermath and legacy. Gertrude Baniszewski was released from prison after serving just 20 years, leading to public outrage. Many felt that she had not served enough time for her crimes. After her release, she moved to Iowa and changed her name. She died in 1990 from lung cancer. Sylvia's tragic story had a lasting impact on society, drawing attention to the issues of child abuse, domestic violence, and the importance of community vigilance. It became a case study for child protection agencies and prompted discussions about how to better protect vulnerable children. Cultural depictions. Sylvia's story has been the subject of numerous documentaries, books, and films. The 2007 film An American Crime depicts the events leading up to her death, illustrating the horror of her suffering. Another film, The Girl Next Door, is also loosely based on her story, though it takes creative liberties. Conclusion. The story of Sylvia Likens is a haunting reminder of the horrors of child abuse and the responsibility of society to protect the vulnerable. Her legacy continues to resonate, urging people to remain vigilant against violence and to speak out when they see signs of abuse. Sylvia's tragic fate is a call to action for everyone to ensure that no child has to endure the suffering she experienced.